I think we could really now take a long flight to Australia. We are, especially particularly, we are landing in Brisbane, where Stephen McCarthy is speaking. It's quite late in Australia, but they still should be here with us today. Uh, Stephen, nice to see you there. Well, good evening.
Morning.
Here it's oh, well, we're going into the afternoon, but at your place it's evening. So good evening to you, and thank you very much for your participation today to the CMDBuild Day. Mr. Stephen McCarthy works for the Max Solution, as I said, in Springwood, Queensland, Australia. So we are in the eastern part of that big island. And they work with CMDBuild, and they have this really important project. Max Solution provides employment, health, training, and humanitarian services in more than 250 locations across Australia. So they really have a good presence and a lot of work to do there. What time is it now in Australia?
Good morning, good evening. It's just gone 8:30 in the evening here in Queensland.
All right. Well then, yeah. Good evening, and well, I'll let you go on with your presentation.
Okay, thanks very much for the introduction. Um, yes, okay. My focus in the next say 15 or 20 minutes is to really discuss um, the work we've gone through with CMDBuild over the last couple of years in implementing a major asset control system for us across all of our lines of business. I will very quickly jump into the presentation. So I guess the first thing I'd like to cover is why are we actually looking for an asset management system? Going to the next slide. What led us to CMDBuild? How did we go about the implementation? And we've approached it somewhat differently to some of the earlier presenters this morning. Where are we up to now? I'd like to emphasise that we're only very partway through the implementation of CMDBuild in its full glory, as it were, and what's on our to-do list that we're looking at right this moment. So quite a few items that I've summarised over the next few slides.
Stephen, sorry to interrupt you. Not sure if it's a common problem, but your voice is quite low. Would you mind turning up a little bit the volume of your mic, or getting closer to it? I don't know. I'm very sorry about that.
Okay, no, I'll
Well, maybe yeah. Try now.
okay, is that any better?
Yeah, much better. Now you're loud and clear. All right, sorry. Please go on.
Is that any better? Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, yeah, we can
Is
hear
that
you.
better?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, excellent. Okay, I think the first thing to look at is why we're actually looking for, in our case, an asset management system. Obviously, we were a reasonably established organisation, and we had in place financial asset management in our general ledger, as with most organisations. We did a lot with America. We have an American parent, so our general ledger and all of our financial systems are audited under Sarbanes-Oxley. So we've got a very well-established and well-audited organisation from that perspective. We have an instant management system for our service desk. That instant management system also included, change management and all the various ITIL products or services that go with that. And we had our current assets all tracked in a SharePoint system, more or less a SharePoint list. So not exactly the best way of doing it, but it was suiting its purpose. So what we wanted in IT, in addition to these things, is we needed to manage our life cycle of all of our assets. That's from basically getting a quote for a product right through all of its life through the company and to its disposal. So we have a financial start and a financial end, but in the middle we have all these things that IT have to do to provide services to the business. A large piece of this is asset movements, and I'll go into that in a moment because the asset movements is really quite a big thing for us when you consider the shape and size of Australia. And also things like upgrades, repairs, storage of equipment, all these things make a significant difference to the way we can deliver services to the business. In short, we were looking for one system for IT management and control. Now, we weren't going to do this in one big hit, but that was our goal to move forward. Okay, now the slide is really looking back, shall we say, on when we started looking at CMDBuild. So we knew we had some expanding work to do. We were about to, we'd entered into some bids with the federal government, the Commonwealth Government of Australia, and we were relatively confident we'd get some extra work from them and some extra locations which we had to look at. We actually ended up getting slightly more work than we first anticipated. Which is a very good thing for the business, but sometimes puts some strains on the IT department and the people in the back office delivering the services. So just to look back, in the last 20 months, we've shipped and installed and built 100 new locations. In CMDBuild terms, that's a building. So we actually use the building function in CMDBuild to look after these locations. We've moved, shipped, and tracked 14,000 items around the country. We now maintain 200 locations or 200 plus locations. These sites here, these buildings are 200 main buildings. We have another 40 or 50 which are small sub buildings that fit off that. So it's a reasonably well spread out organisation. If we look at the next item, which is a large geographic area. So in a European context, we operate between Moscow, Scotland and Morocco. It's all within our patch. It's all within the single large island. We do have 3 time zones to contend with as well. So when we look at our challenge, getting it right first time is really important to us, else it's very expensive. You ship something, 6 hours in a flight and a 1.5 day trek in a truck. You really want to make sure that you've got the right things at the right place at the right time. We've got a lot of remote areas in Australia. Having come from the UK myself, it's very difficult to visualize remote. Some of these places can take a couple of days to get to. That's including, commercial flights. And some of the roads you can travel on, you might see 1 car a day. So it's quite remote. So that management of asset controls very critical for our operation. And given those criteria, we also have some dynamic environments where users and sites can often grow, they can shrink. Things are fairly dynamic in the actual operations of the organisation. And obviously our reaction is required, needs to be quick. If the government decide that we have to move locations, add a location, take on more caseload, our reaction has to be very quick and very precise. And 2 weeks is a long notice as far as sometimes the government is concerned. So why CMDBuild? Not one reason, but a number of reasons, and one sort of interesting challenge we had. It was a comprehensive solution. And some of the presenters earlier this morning have gone through this in really great detail. But basically, it covered all of our requirements for assets. The other thing that it covered were use of possible future options. Remember, our focus always at this stage was on asset management and asset controls. But it did have the option for incident management and change management. And as we've gone through the process, we've found a lot more opportunities that we can take advantage of. And it did have integration to LDAP with the Active Directory from Microsoft. That was very key to us because that's our whole security is maintained based on Microsoft Active Directory. The implementation schedule itself, well, that was an interesting one for us because given that previous slide where when we were opening 100 new locations and refitting another 60 of those, our workload determined that we couldn't really pull off a separate project to do this. So it was really a gradual approach, which was the only way we could see ourselves succeeding in this. So we implemented things as needs drove it. Excuse me. And that was the key part of our success, is not to try and do everything at once. We had a low-cost entry point, and a number of the other presenters have covered this. And that was quite important to us because given all the work we had and a lot of investment we had to make to set up our new locations, it was quite difficult to convince the organisation that we needed a major expenditure in IT asset control when the organisation actually was pretty happy with what we already had, but we knew we had to be better at it. What was our big challenge? Well, we're a Microsoft shop. We actually had no open source products at all, and we had no Linux in-house skills whatsoever. So that was the interesting challenge. But I think the point to bear in mind is that the first two items and the investigation we did with CMDBuild led us to believe that was a challenge that we were willing to take on, particularly helped by the provision of a fully working VM when we first started. So we got everything installed, and Tecnoteca provided us with a working installation as an appliance, which was excellent. It was the convincing fact for us to go forward, and the excellent support they gave us with that initial VM. We had the option to contract a support agreement. We didn't do that immediately because we really tried to understand what we could use CMDBuild for and how we could move forward with that. Okay, so how do we go about implementation? As I mentioned, Tecnoteca provided us with a VM. That was the key to enable us to start the process. We did have excellent support from the team at Tecnoteca, and that really helped convince some of my team, which were less than enthusiastic, shall we say, to go down the dark side and look at all these things from the open source world, which in a very controlled environment can be sometimes a bit concerning. We did have to convert the VM to Hyper-V. It came as a VMware product. We didn't run any VMware servers, but we did have a large Hyper-V farm, quite a few hundred Hyper-V applications running. Key to where we go about this, focus just on the asset system. After we sort of played with the original installation or looked at it, there's a huge number of other things we decided that we would like to do at some stage, but to maintain focus on the asset system was key. So we went through and worked with creating a model to suit our needs. It worked very well for us. Looking back, it probably wasn't we probably didn't get the best possible model out of what we did because of the way we had to go about implementing the service. At this time, we decided that the next thing we would do would be the incident management workflow, because that starts to working very well when we're controlling assets and support for assets. To get things moving, we signed up for support, and we purchased some professional service hours, block hours from the team in Tecnoteca, so that we could actually use their expertise and get things going a little bit faster than we were capable of, given our workload internally. And again, we're relying on Tecnoteca to provide a lot of that open source skill set where I won't say we didn't have the capacity to do it. We didn't have the capability of spreading our team across another product. So that was very key for us. Next thing, ready-to-use enters the scene. I'd looked at it on the web, read a few things about it. Basically, then contacted the team and asked for the use of ready-to-use. And straight away, we'd had this right at the very beginning. Very key piece of very, very useful implementation for us with ready-to-use. It was a better overall model than one we created, but it wasn't too dissimilar. So we worked in our thought process, we were working down the same lines, but we hadn't advanced obviously as much as the folks that built CMDBuild could work. And the support team or the professional services team at Tecnoteca merged our data model into ready-to-use so that we are as close to ready-to-use release as we could possibly be. Key again, remained focused on the asset system. We purchased some additional professional service hours. We went through some refinement of the model to suit our needs. Focus always to stay as close to possible to ready-to-use, but we did have one or two additional pieces that we needed to add in, and I'll go through those shortly. Very successful, worked very well, and incident management workflow, something we're going to work on. So how have we progressed so far? And I think it's important to note that we are only a short way through the implementation, but again, our implementation is really focused on the asset system. So we've done some configuration changes with the help of Tecnoteca to support some of our IRAP security requirements. Now, IRAP is a security regime implemented by the Australian Commonwealth Government that we have to comply to, and we have a long, we have about another 8 or 9 months to get full compliance with that security. But the asset control and asset management system was a key component of that security requirement, something we didn't really know about when we first started with CMDBuild. CMDBuild has fitted very well into that, and is now has become an audited application by the government auditors or the applied auditors for our organisation. So CMDBuild has gone from a nice thing for IT to manage its business to now a critical component within our security management of our assets and controls. One of the things that we have to do is identify at any one time where all our assets are and confirm that those assets are still in use and controlled. Some of our assets have government personally identifiable information on them, and we have to notify the government, for instance, if anything actually gets lost, because they will worry about any loss of the government data. So the CMDBuild is very key in us maintaining our controls. All our purchases now go through CMDBuild, so we've got the purchase order system through that. Every single piece of IT equipment is now managed through CMDBuild, and rough estimates, we've got about 4,000 PCs, about 600 laptops, 400 to 500 printers and multifunction device, 200 plus buildings. Each building has a rack of equipment in it to control the network, etc., etc. So it's a fairly substantive implementation from the asset control system. We did do some work with the incident management system, and we've partially cut that over from our existing system. We're in the process of checking out how to use web services between the SharePoint system. We have our main intranet is SharePoint, and CMDBuild for our end users, because that's the tool we will use for employee self-service. So if somebody wants to submit a service request, it will actually come through the SharePoint intranet that we have. And instead of going to the old system, which we have in place, we want to be able to point it to the CMDBuild system. We haven't quite completed that piece of work. We're not quite sure on one or two items there, and we'll be working on that literally this week and next week. Interesting piece we had to do for online dynamic auditing, which is a strange concept really for an asset management system. But under the IRAP requirements, we have to be able to have within a list of systems, which is a government term for a collection of applications, every asset, physical and virtual, that belongs to that system. We build, and we can get reports out from the Jasper reports on everything that's in that system. So one of the things we've done is we're looking at putting the Jasper report server online, so that can be dynamically linked to from the documents that the auditors use to reference all of our security aspects. So, for instance, a system that looks after employment services may have 5,000 assets, 200 virtual servers, and 20 applications. And rather than try to reproduce that in a report that's published in a document, we dynamically link to that, so it's produced automatically out of the CMDBuild database. We have done a little bit of work with fulfillment requests, but we haven't yet cut that over. Again, our focus is really only on the asset management. So what does our production look like today? We have a CMDBuild production Hyper-V virtual machine. We have a test and UAT virtual machine. We have a development virtual machine where we're using a separate development machine because quite a few of us are still learning about how to do certain things in the open source world, and it's a bit dangerous if we have a play and it kind of breaks the test system. And we have a Jasper report separate virtual machine. So our environment looks somewhat like that, and it's that which we're basing our future growth on with the reports and the CMDBuild development. Okay, our to-do list. This is really the points that we're working on right now and plan to go in the more going forward. The SharePoint Web Services interface. Now, whether we use REST, SOAP, or in fact go back to simple email, is something we're investigating this week. The best way to actually achieve a user interface. Basically, the users will never see CMDBuild, just the IT staff at the back end. We've got a lot of reports that we have to do for security requirements, and a lot of reports we have to do for our own asset management and control finance. We're going to do some modifications to the incident management and RF workflows so that it suits our business model. When I say suits our business model, it's really that we've got to cater for all these different time zones and locations and distances. So we just need to make sure that we cater for all of our, well, 90% of our situations. There always will be, I'm sure, an exception to every rule. Change management workflows, again, we're going to convert that across from our existing system. Tracking of third-party repairs. We don't do our own repairs for hardware, and we've got hardware spread across the continent, and therefore repairs can take place in many, many different places. In some cases, we always return to base for the local repair, but in general terms, we have to manage where everything is. It's very easy to lose track of a desktop that's been sent for repair, and it's many hours away where the order to set the repair in place was set up. So checking and watching all those repairs is very important to us. A lot of auto-generating and tracking of equipment orders, and that's twofold. That's equipment orders from when we're buying something from a vendor, and equipment orders when we're supplying stuff or applying equipment to our locations and sites across Australia. So that maintaining and tracking of equipment is really, again, I can't overemphasize the importance of that. IT equipment budget tracking. I know an earlier presenter this morning spoke about the budgeting piece that they're looking at in CMDBuild. We're looking at a very similar approach to making sure that our capital budgeting and service budgeting, we've got sufficient information in CMDBuild to enable us to do that. We do plan, we have a small facilities team, so we do plan on working with that team in the very near future with the IM and RF workflows to bring those guys online to the system. So basically CMDBuild is or will become our ERP for IT. Excuse me. It's key to us to maintain the energy with CMDBuild to get all the processes across, and we can then shut down some of our older proprietary tracking tools and SharePoint lists and Excel spreadsheets and asset databases that exist on people's desktops and get and control everything from one single ERP type location. So I think that's really the main items that we do have to work on moving forward. The key for all of this for us is efficiency, automation, and integration, and that's our key driving force. Okay, I think really I've finished that. Please let me know if you have any questions, or I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Yes, there is a question actually. Spike is asking you, which impacts have you had migrating from CMDBuild base to CMDBuild ready to use?
We didn't really have too many because, as I say, we were fortunate in working with the folks early. We had a very similar base from to the CMDB ready to use, but we did get the team, and we got a professional services team in Tecnoteca to actually do that migration for us. So we did. If we're saying what sort of things did we lose, we did drop out some of our purchase order tracking that we had implemented. That was less of a problem for us. We did lose some of our building management information that we had put in the original system. But really there were none of it that caused us any serious problems. The CMDBuild ready to use did give us the ability to make some leaps and bounds going forward. So our key aim was successful. What we will do and what we have done is to put some of the purchase order tracking and purchase order management into the ready to use product, and we've got a asset lifecycle management workflow which we have in there. We've added in some workflows so we can sit multiple devices between locations. Well, in CMDBuild terms, multiple devices between buildings. We don't actually have the concept per se of warehousing, but we do often have to ship equipment from one location to another across the country. So it's really important for us to have gotten that workflow back into CMDBuild.
All right, thank you very much, Stephen. Once again, yeah, just it is quite common that some of our customers ask us to migrate from their CMDBuild base version, the old CMDBuild, to the new CMDB ready to use, which features or whatever workflows and a lot of reports, dashboards. There's a lot already included in the CMDB ready to use version. So it quite often it does make sense to do the migration. Well, I really want to thank you very much, Stephen, especially because it's evening already, almost night in Australia. So that even I really want to thank you again for this, and I really hope we can continue working together as we did in the last 2-3 years, yeah, just we hope to be as good as you just described us. All right, so
okay,
thanks once again.
Thank you very much, and your team.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Bye.